It's Patti Smith with Gloria from her debut release, Horses, here on the afternoon show. 90.3 FM, KEXP in Seattle. I'm Kevin Cole, and joining me this afternoon, an artist whose band in the 80s really set the sonic template for what would become alternative rock, profoundly influencing the likes of Nirvana and the Pixies. An artist whose band really put the hooks and melody and the raw aggression of punk, and who really expanded the emotional depth of that genre at that time. An artist who also really helped establish kind of the guidelines for what it meant to be an independent American underground rock band. Like, there weren't like the established clubs there are now, and sort of the rules of the road. An artist that in recent years has done some spoken word with Patti Smith, and who at one point appeared on the Joan Rivers show. That's pretty strange. Not many people can
the two of them together.
Well, it's hard to imagine. I just found out that Patti Smith is actually going to be on an episode of Law and Order this weekend, acting.
Might as well.
Exactly. I mean, why not?
She's in the latest Godard, isn't she?
I have no idea.
Yeah, she is.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. When have you seen her last? Well, she's playing a professor of mythology in the Law and Order episode, which that seems like a good role for her.
Yeah. Well, Lenny attached himself to a good star.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not here to talk a ton about the past. We're going to talk about what you're doing now. But
well, Patti doesn't blank much with the past, but she blanks plenty with the future. So we'll keep it going in that direction.
Cool. So Grant Hart, welcome. It's great to see you.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you stopping by.
Nice getting together with old friends. For those of you who don't know this little factoid, but Kevin and I go back, a long time.
I think
more than half of our ages.
That's true. And, well, dang, I was going to put a date to it now. I don't know if I want to do that. But
now that I said that, yeah.
Certainly, I remember mixing your sound a couple times in the early Husker Du days in the 7th Street entry before Terry Katzman kind of took over the sonic responsibilities there when I worked at First Ave 7th Street entry, and have always been just a long-time admirer of your work and your art and your thinking and all of that.
Well, you've championed so many developing styles and forms of music. I remember, when you were doing the House Nation Under a Groove in 7th Street entry.
Yeah, so for listeners who might not know, the 7th Street entry was typically kind of the punk rock room or the underground, non-commercial bands, and still is and always has been. But there was a period where I kind of transformed that room into just this incredibly sonic. Yeah, it was all the senses were kind of shut down. There was pitch, just sound, and played really hardcore house music. This was 87, 88, 89, when that style was just developing. And I loved the fact that you would show up at those nights. It meant a lot to me.
Well, it's, I'd stolen from the other genres already, so it was time to pick those berries.
Yeah, well... Yeah. You've done a ton of work, and you've got we'll talk a little bit about this in a sec, but there is an album that came out about a year and a half ago, Hot Wax, and you've got a song you're going to play from that?
Sure. So that's what the CZ on my hands in ink stands for. It's for California Zephyr, and that's a little song, and it goes like this. Emeryville is as far as it goes. Take a bus to the Embarcadero and a cab to the Bay Bridge Inn. They check you out while they check you in. Quick shower and a bite to eat. Then he's ready to hit the street. Out of sight and out of mind. He left his hometown far behind. He rides the California Zephyr. He rides the Coast Starlight. He and his friends will get together tonight. Came here years ago. Took the Empire Builder from Chicago. Met some people stay. Certain interests and pursuits. He learned the city and he knew the roots. Fell in love and he settled down. Made San Francisco his hometown. He rides the California Zephyr. He rides the Coast Starlight. He and his friends who get together tonight. Left the city and here is why. He got tired of watching all his friends die. Funerals and farewell toasts. He felt like he was surrounded by ghosts. Sad looks from those who remain. He came to party, not to feel pain. Those who gather for last call. The Eagle Tavern welcomes them all. California Zephyr, he rides the Coast Starlight. He and his friends will get together tonight, 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 tonight. He rides the California Zephyr, he rides the Coast Starlight.
Grant Hart, California Zephyr, that is on the new album Hot Wax, and Grant Hart playing tonight at the Funhouse and Saturday night in Portland at the East End. You mentioned you were just up in Vancouver, and actually your guitar got partially damaged in the riots.
I was not anticipating that there was going to be so many hockey fans at my show, but a couple untoward comments and
seriously,
you know, yeah, me and my big mouth, and
they turned on you. You insulted the team or the sport, or
I insulted their whole country, their whole system. You know,
but it probably wasn't that triggered it.
I think
it was probably hockey.
It was probably hockey, yeah, and I mean, they knew there was going to be a riot, win or lose. The 94, when they had their last, you know,
Stanley Cup final.
Cup final, they had a riot, and you know, there was so much preparation for it that, you know, they would have lost money in the city if they hadn't followed through and had the riot. You know. Wow.
So they had planned for some of the destruction, but not for your guitar being hit.
No, but it did give me a chance to, you know, spend more time on stage, you know, like critically examining the, you know, intonation, and, you know, when you have to repair something, you're maintaining it. Mm-hmm. So,
you've always been really fearless.
I don't know what it is against me, but I'm like stupid that way.
Well, I think it's just being honest and being in the moment,
yeah.
You know, and just letting things happen as they happen, not trying to write a script ahead of time.
Yeah. It's, it hasn't lost me too many friends, any real friends.
Well, your real friends will stick with you. So, I know you're working on a new project that is really kind of based around Paradise Lost, and
yeah.
You've got a song from that.
Okay, let's see. What does my hand say here? SF. What is SF? Okay, that must stand for this one. Okay, now in the context of Paradise Lost, there's a Lucifer has escaped from hell. He's talked his way out of hell, promising far more return in souls to sin and her son Death, who eats souls. And he says, if you let me out, I'll let many more in. And He stops at the sun where the Archangel Uriel is stationed watching over the earth, which hangs from the sun by a golden chain. Now, in the big picture, as far as what Milton was writing about, when he was writing about it, this was a time when Galileo was living under fear of death from the life sentence imposed on him by the Pope. If you talk about the heliocentric universe, we're going to stone you. And Milton actually was a friend of Galileo's. And to me, the idea of the earth hanging from the sun by a golden chain suggests the Copernican universe with the earth revolving around the sun. I mean, why not nail it to the sun if you're going to attach the two of them? But the chain implies movement in a radius. So I think he was addressing that. Throughout the story, he's addressing knowledge, forbidden knowledge, what is forbidden if it's worth knowing. And that's the main argument that Lucifer/Satan is proposing in the work, that what possible knowledge could be forbiddable? I mean, what is there to know that is profane? And, this is the song sung by the Archangel Uriel when Satan comes asking for directions to the Garden of Eden. I sit and watch the world alone from this star. I see you approaching, I wonder who you are. What's a little angel doing so far from heaven? He's disguised as a cherub. What is it you're seeking? What would be your prize? Is it no fair peeking? If I look past your disguise, would I see an angel that I recognize from heaven? You travel far, you travel long, listening for that brand new song. We can sing along to show him praises. Are you one of those angels who attempted to rebel? You waged a war in heaven, were defeated, and you fell. Are you one of those angels who went all the way to hell from heaven? Listening for that brand new song. We can sing along to show him praises. But all the choruses you learn will not be sung at your return. Back to that lake of fire that burns and blazes. Are you one of those angels who attempted to rebel? You waged a war in heaven, were defeated, and you fell. Are you one of those angels who went all the way to hell from heaven? Little angel doing so far from heaven? And the reason he gives to the archangel that he's looking for Earth in the first place is because he's heard of these wonderful new creatures that he wants to mimic their sounds in the celestial chorus praising, you know, the High Holy One. But it's a nice chance to play a little with the heretical.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, but first, man, that song, beautiful song. And whenever I hear a song, I don't know, about angels, I think doo-wop, right?
Oh,
that
yeah.
song could have a really nice...
Johnny Ace.
Yeah, doo-wop vibe to it.
Yeah.
The chord progression sounded like it would sound nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a wealth of material in Paradise Lost that you can tap into. It's an epic poem.
Yeah.
It really addresses kind of the universal questions of why are we here?
Yeah.
Right, wrong.
Pert near every line, 10 syllables long, unrhymed, as Milton said, undecorated with rhyme. But being a popsmith, I write things that rhyme. It is how people remember songs. You know, it's what I do.
So this is a project I've heard about for a couple years. Mm-hmm. Where are you at with it?
I was composing it before I finished the Hot Wax record.
So Hot Wax came out in 2009. The album prior to that was a decade before.
Yeah.
So you were kind of maintaining a low profile.
I was traveling a lot. I mean, I was 6 years past that record when I realized, gee, I'm still touring this thing.
Yeah.
And prudently, I hadn't introduced a lot of the songs from Good News for Modern Man into the live set. So when it, every couple years or so, I could add a couple to the live presentation. But I was really unhappy going from label to label to label, one release at a time. So I spent some time, collecting the rights to everything and working with a distributor, MVD, out of the Philadelphia area. They're pressing and distributing label for me, Condor Records.
Is this the rights to all the Nova Mob and your Grant Hart records?
We've re-released Last Days of Pompeii, the remix of that, which was done for the Pachyderm label, but the studio and label owner's wife ran off with the main investor. So that didn't bode well for the continuation of that man's hobby.
It's a crazy world. It's like Paradise Lost.
Yeah, it's like everybody's losing their something. But it was really Paradise Lost for this guy. He had picked up this beautiful piece of property right on the Cannon River in Minnesota, and limestone cliffs on each side of the ravine. He built a world-class studio that there was some band from around here that recorded at it.
Yeah, their album In Utero was recorded there.
Dave Gould. Yeah.
You recently...
I call him Dave Gould because he lives off of the dead. But, he had this Paradise studio, and he just lost it.
Yeah, I heard recently, I saw that it was up for sale. The property itself,
Yeah.
I'm sure it
Well,
wasn't.
the beautiful mixing console, the 48-channel Neve fully automated board is in some rich kid's living room, doing, Pro Tools. I don't say that word very often. I'm an old analog dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Grant Hart live on the afternoon show, playing tonight at the Fun House. How about another song from Hot Wax?
Okay, what did I write down there?
This one I was going to ask. It sounds like kind of a
know.
Buddhist saying or a Buddhist
concept. When Patty was doing her covers album, I was one verse short of completing this song, and this song was right up her alley for me. But it was inspired when they were deciding on the next Panchen Lama, who is the counterpart to the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's number one job is to make sure the ascendancy of the Panchen Lama is in accordance with tradition. The Panchen Lama's main job is to make sure the Dalai Lama is succeeded according to the tradition. And the Communist Chinese have been interfering with things Tibetan for 50 years now. And they decided they were going to introduce the selection process known as the Golden Urn, which is basically putting the names in a hat and coming out with, surprise, the Chinese candidate. But one of the elder lamas made the comment about their candidate. He said, oh, yes, he's an exquisite candidate. He's the reflection of the moon on the water, but he isn't the moon. And that's where I stole that. Reflection of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water, but you're not the moon. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You're not the sea. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire, but you're not the light. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You're not the rain. Of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water, but you're not the moon. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind, but you're not the sea. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You're not the light. Reflection of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water. You're the reflection of the moon on the water, but you're not the moon. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You are the scent of the sea on the night wind. You're not the sea. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You are the shadows from the light of a fire. You're not the light. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You are the sound of the rain on the dry earth. You're not the rain. Not the rain.
Grant Hart, live in studio here, KEXP. You're the reflection of the moon on the water. You're not the moon. Grant playing tonight at the Funhouse, tomorrow night in Portland at East End. And that song was from the new album, Hot Wax. You recorded that in Minneapolis and Montreal with Godspeed You Black Emperor. Those folks were the band, right?
Are you familiar with the record they did with Vic Chestnut?
Yeah.
Yeah. In hindsight, I think that was more like the record they intended to make. But they invited me up to the studio to make an album with them. And I'm thinking, oh, string players,
Yeah.
oh, beautiful studio, blah, 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 blah. And the clock was ticking. And the studio became very, very popular. They decided to change locations. Time got scarcer and scarcer and scarcer, so I decided to record it with a artist engineer, Mike Wisty from the Rank Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, for the past 15 years, any band that has caught my ear, I'll be talking to them, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're doing some demos with Mike Wisty, or we're making an album with Mike Wisty. So there's a real parallel to the way we think and the way we hear. And he likes to experiment around. I like to, get things unique.
Yeah, you've always done that in a pop context. That song, for example, on the album has some really great textures to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So are you going to work with him on Paradise Lost?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we're there's about 4 songs left to be recorded. And that one is mostly in the can. And part of the working plan was we weren't going to attempt any remixes until the last rough mix. We've gone for final mixes every time we've mixed them. Now we realize that, some of these could be tuned up a little bit, and all the time when 2 people are working, their skills actually sharpen. And, in the case of a long-term project, you can reapproach something and do it better by revisiting it.
Yeah.
Not like stripping it back all the way, but like especially mixing is something that...
Yeah, if you work on like 5, 6, 7 songs over the course of 2 years, you can hear like when you get to that last one, hey, that first one was good, but now what we've learned and how we're working together could be better. Does that ever end up being sort of a paralyzing concept?
Well, that
like
might
when
be
can you let something go?
why I particularly am fond of working 24-track analog, because there's always a little pinpoint of light at the end of the tunnel that you're going through. Now, so many people, when they are working, especially with Pro Tools, the concept isn't about finishing the record, it's about working on the record. And recording another track is, most often what somebody will do instead of figuring out how they're going to mix the tracks that they do have. And the nice thing about having a limitation is you know when to put down the crayon.
Yeah.
And
don't have an infinite number of possibilities.
Because, what song doesn't need a 12-string on the intro and, a triangle on the, second to the last bar? And
you mean like the triangle, ding, ding, triangle?
Yeah, a love sex triangle.
Excellent. It's Grant Hart live on the afternoon show. Again, in town playing at the Fun House tonight. How about one last song?
Okay. Do you know what that one would be?
It could be Barbara, or it could be Flexible
Barbara.
Flyer, or it could be books about UFOs, or it could be
Well, I got
Little Misinformation.
These rough little jottings on my finger, and this letter B must stand for Barbara. This song was written... Aesopus magazine, kind of a coffee table magazine, a lot of glossy pages with no print on them.
Fun to look at.
Yeah, fun to look at for 5 minutes. But they requested synopsises from their readers of their childhood imaginary friends. And then they sent these synopses out to different songwriters to choose one and write a song about some unknown person's imaginary childhood friend. And I made the good selection of having been inspired by Barbara, which was the childhood friend of the editor's mother. So that was great points there. But Goes a little something like this. Barbara always... Better turn it up. Barbara always avoids unpleasant situations. She rides right next to me between the streetcar stations. Her knees are big and they're bony. She takes up all the cushions. Barbara always avoids unpleasant situations. And I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, she acts naughty and I'm punished for her actions. She writes right on the walls in the hallways and the kitchen. I get punished for her crayon illustrations. Barbara always avoids unpleasant situations. And I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara always avoids unpleasant situations. She rides right next to me between the streetcar stations. Her knees are big and they're bony. She takes up all the cushions. Barbara always avoids unpleasant situations. And I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, yes, I'm the only one who can see. Barbara, Barbara, Barbara.
Sweet.
Thank you.
It's Barbara. That is a song about an imaginary friend, and you can find it on Hot Wax, Grant Hart's latest. And
Sometimes the best kind of friend to have.
well, yeah, I wonder how common that is. Did you have a childhood imaginary friend or friends?
No, but I pretended I was an animal at different times.
When you were a kid?
I enjoyed becoming Curious George.
Mm-hmm.
And climbing up on the counter and
Swinging around.
swallowing pieces of a puzzle and flummoxing the man with the big yellow hat.
So you, in this set, for example, two of the songs at least were songs where you are in the mindset of a character.
Maybe that's why the Paradise Lost thing was inevitably attractive to me.
Mm-hmm.
The way that actually started out is a friend of mine was secretary for a writer who had a piece adapted for a musical. And the producer of the musical was looking for another property that this guy had done a treatment of to exploit. And I read the treatment and I thought, God, this is terrible. I could do better than this. And thinking that I was going to be hired on as the composer, the whole thing kind of fizzled out, and I was left with a handful of songs that I'd prepared already, and I decided, well, just follow through with it. You know, there's a lot in those pages.
Oh, yeah. So when can we look for a new record then? You said you got 4 or 5 songs left.
The thing about answering a question like that is somebody somewhere is going to book a show to coincide with a hypothetical date that I just pull out of my, mind at this juncture, and somebody will make a tour out of that, and the next thing you know, I'm hurrying to finish up the last 5% of the record. But I'm hoping to finish it for an autumn release. But I'm not, the quality of the record comes first, and whatever should happen, is.
Well, we'll look forward to that. I know you've been.
It's not going to be called Paradise Lost, though. I've encountered so many real stupid things that are hooked up to that phrase, whether it's like wrestling or heavy metal or. So I'm calling it The Argument.
The Argument.
Yeah.
It's good.
Thank you.
Grant Hart again live here on KEXP, playing at the Funhouse tonight, and thank you so much for stopping by.
And then we're funning at the Playhouse.
That's right, and it's good to see you. It's great to hear you.
Yeah.
And look forward to more music soon.
Come down tonight, and you can meet Kevin Cole.
It's the afternoon show here on KEXP.